Tonight, can we get right? Tonight, can we get right? Whoa, oh, oh, oh. Hey, I need some of your love tonight. I need some of your love.
Hi, how are you?
So
Hey
kiss my
Josephine, how are you? I'm good. I know it's late there, right? It's 9 p.m.
It's all right. It's like 9 p.m. It's not like super
Okay. Meaning somebody sleeps very late usually.
late. Yeah, it's like 8 a.m. in Jakarta.
Uh,
Probably no one's awake yet.
yeah. How long have you not come back here?
I actually go back pretty often. I think the last time, what is this May? Oh, so like over New Year's, I was actually back home. Yeah.
I see. Cool. Do you miss Jakarta or you prefer New York?
Um, well, I feel like right now it's a pandemic going on, so maybe it's like good to be in New York because I guess there's like parks and stuff and you can like walk around, but I definitely I miss my family. My family's back home. And love Indonesian food, so I do miss that.
I see. But how are you? Everything's healthy there and well?
Yeah, I think thankfully, at least for me, I've been staying pretty safe and healthy. So,
Mm,
yeah, all good.
cool. Do you work from home right
Yeah,
now?
so I get to work from home too, and I feel like that's definitely like really rare, and I'm super grateful that I can still work from home.
Yeah. Praise God. And anyway, I'm so excited to see you in somehow virtually, but I know that maybe someday we can somehow really meet face to face. But
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for having me.
yeah. And so today our topic is about creative contentment, Josephine, and maybe some of us haven't really know you personally, especially me
Mhm.
too. Like maybe you can introduce yourself first, like what is your background and maybe some of your patients.
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Josephine, and I'm originally from Jakarta, Indonesia. And for me, growing up, I didn't really think where I am today was a path that I was going to take, especially living in a pretty traditional household. But fortunately, I think my parents and my family have been pretty supportive of my constant curiosity as a child and like young adult who I kind of always wanted to try new things and do different activities. And I think that finally made me realize that, how much I love the arts and design is from trying out different things.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved to New York for college, and I went to School of Visual Arts and started my journey actually in advertising, and shifted gears a little bit in my sophomore year to focus on design. And SVA was such an awesome experience. Learn a lot from my amazing professors, and it's really awesome that a lot of them are working professionals. And I've always loved kind of their openness that these teachers have in sharing their knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So while diving deeper into design, I found myself focusing a lot in like doing a lot of product design and branding work. So after I graduated, I worked at a small startup design studio called Form N, and I think there I learned how to work really closely in a tight-knit group and collaborating with others. And some projects that I touched there was like rebranding eBay and revising identity for IBM. So it was pretty cool to be able to work on these like big brands. And through my work at Form N, my my day-to-day was closer to doing more holistic branding work, which leads me to where I am today. So I'm not doing much of like product design anymore and really just doing more like brand identity. So now I'm an art director at Spotify in New York in our in-house agency, or we call it the Brand and Creative. So, our day-to-day really varies from like campaigns, motion, and yeah, I love my job, I love my team, love the culture, and definitely grateful that it's also like a music company, because talking about passion, that's kind of like my B side and my other passion. So yeah, it's nice to work at a place where it allows me to do design, but also being so like surrounded by music and people who love music.
Wow. But like before you get to where you are today, I mean your current job, do you like specifically like, okay, I want to do something like in between design and music? Do you choose to go to that route, or it's just yeah.
I think it was, I mean, I've always kind of been passionate about both, and I'm lucky that Spotify just happens to be like a music company. I think knowing what you like and like what you want to do in real life is kind of like a journey, and it might be like different for everyone. I know some people who are very talented that just know that they want to do design for the longest time, who kind of like live their life breathing and doing design 24/7. But I also know like designers who probably find out that they're really passionate about design later on. And I think for me, it was definitely like a journey, probably like me as a young adult, you know, discovering that I've always been surrounded by like art and design and really wanting to do that as a profession. And I think that's okay that everyone have their own timing on deciding what they like to do versus something that they're really passionate about. And like for me also, I'm highly passionate about design, but I don't like to box myself or like force myself to think that I have to like stick through it like forever. I'm just gonna be like a designer in an agency or something. Because I can also see myself doing down the line still being passionate about design and maybe doing things that is like design driven, but not necessarily in just a traditional agency setting, you know.
Awesome. So you still open very flexibly in terms of maybe where life leads you someday, in terms of where the design will bridge you maybe into other aspects of life. But I'm so curious, what major did you take last time in School of Visual Arts?
Sorry?
What major did you
So
study?
it was just like design, but in SVA it was pretty open. There's kind of like different like I guess like sub major that you can take. So mine was like focus on product design and branding.
Oh, I see. That's cool. I actually did once apply there for the MPS in branding, but
Yeah,
then
they're awesome.
it
It's an
didn't
awesome.
happen. It didn't happen, and then somehow here I am with higher purpose. But yeah, so let's start this topic. I
Yes.
mean, diving deep with it, and I believe just now you have already started a little on how somehow you are trying to spark your passion in between music. Oh, by the way, I saw your story in terms of you're releasing a new single, right?
Yes.
Is that your first single?
Yeah, it was
Congratulations.
my first single. It's one of my side projects, so that was exciting.
Awesome. So everyone that is hearing us right now, please go and check Josephine's new single. I heard it on Spotify.
Thank you.
And it's nice. It's nice, yeah.
Thank you.
So as a designer and creative people, I believe that contentment is one thing that we keep on pursuing, because for me, I think my contentment comes from the things that actually I want to create. So if there is still a room for me to create something, anything, then it will give me some sense of contentment, right? Most of the people, they have different ways on how to be contented. But maybe I want to ask you, in this point of time, how do you feel? Are you creatively satisfied at this moment? And somehow, what sparks your passion the most, Josephine?
I think so. I mean, at least generally. And I also feel like creativity can come from different places. And the way we convey creativity can vary in terms of its form and expression. And I think in order to be satisfied creatively, I think being creative is sort of like a muscle that we have to keep using and training in order to keep it going. It might seem like an advantage because day to day, you know, like I'm an art director, I'm obviously doing like art and design and making like creative decisions. And it really pushed me to constantly think of new creative solutions, and that probably helps my creativity. But I also believe that you can be creative even if you're not necessarily working in the arts, and in more practical manners in your daily life. Like, I've met people who are not necessarily involved in the design world, but are highly creative in the way they express themselves through their work. And I think it might be hard to think about finding creative satisfaction in time of pandemic, but I think the blockage probably comes from putting too much pressure on the idea of like, you gotta like find creativity. I have to always like, have like new solutions right now, and just like this constant pressure and need to be creative. And I think it's okay to experience like stillness or not knowing, especially right now, to know the exact solution to a particular problem. And in fact, I find the times where you find yourself in a rut, or it probably becomes a time that will push you to be the most creative, like when you're feeling a little bit stuck. And I have found that since now I have like limited places, like physical places such as like museums to see and explore, I train my creativity through ways that might not be necessarily like design related, like day-to-day design related, but still trains my brain to think creatively. Like, what are some things I can improve in my home and be creative and feel more at ease? Or how can I keep myself busy with activities that I care about that still keeps myself creative? I think all these things are daily kind of like practice that keeps your brain creatively satisfied. And what was the second question? What sparks
your passion the most?
I think for me, I like working on things that resonate with me more than just creating like aesthetic logos or like design. I mean, I think it's, it's always nice to look at these things. And I get really passionate about projects that speak to people beyond the surface level or just aesthetic. To name some, I think like rebranding Commando Colibri, for example. It's a feminist self-defense initiative for women based in Mexico. And they basically work to teach women and other bodies in danger self-confidence, healing, and group care. And I felt like working on that project and learning more about what motivates them to help other people motivates me to create something that's like beautiful but also meaningful. And it definitely reminded me that design could create such impact with the way others perceive things without you even realizing it. And I remember at the end of that project, it felt like it taught me more things than, the things that I contributed. And that was definitely like a humbling experience. Another one is like working on a project that I'm really passionate about was the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month campaign. And especially in this pandemic season, it was such an important work for me that felt really personal and close to my heart, because it's all about supporting the Asian community and getting represented in the industry. And I think doing work that could hopefully have positive impact and be meaningful for people more than myself, I think that really sparks my passion and reminded me of how important it is to use what you have and what you can do to things that you believe in. And in this case, getting represented and really supporting the community. So personally, I also find that keeping your passion alive and the space of creativity going is fine. Other passion other than my day-to-day to avoid like getting burned out or like being bored. And for me, that is doing music on the side. And even while doing music on the side, I find opportunity to still, flex my design brain, like through branding my band or like creating the viz for my side project. So I think having personal projects like this allowed me to combine like two of my passions together. And that really keeps me motivated and really sparks my passion.
Wow, awesome. So What are the creative thing? I like the idea that you mentioned that while you being stuck, like somehow the creative energy within you wants to explode out. Because like right now we're eventually in a quarantine mood, and things that we can do is not so far from home, and we're just trying to come up with some, I don't know, very foolish stuff maybe that we never tried on and start doing. For example, like I went out with my dogs to the park, and then somehow I just have this ridiculous idea that okay, let's steal some flowers on the park, like whatever that we can have, and then I just steal and put it on my bag, and then after that I just rearrange it and make dried flower for it on at home. So those things, like for me, it's a stupid thing that I will never do if I don't have this quarantine mode, right? So maybe you have some creative energy flow there within this period. Can you tell us like what are the most creative thing that you do at home now?
Oh, for sure. I think this quarantine has made me do a lot of like, I mean, I would look around my apartment, and I think I'm very specific with my aesthetic too with my apartment. I was like, I mean, usually I would just buy things that I need, and now I look around, I was like, oh, what can I add? So I started doing things that I probably have been putting off for a while. Like I've been wanting to make it feel more homey with images. So I bought these like wire rack thing where I can put out all my Polaroids and kind of like remind me of my friends and family. So that was kind of like a nice touch. I think all my friends have known me sending their links with just like all the things that I want to shop to like improve my home. Cause I guess it's like a way for me to also feel like, oh, you know what? It's not that bad being home. Like this is my space and I feel like it's really mine. So I've been kind of just like getting things that feel like it would show my personality a little bit, which I wouldn't spend as much time if I'm not like in quarantine. I've been spending more on playing music and buying instruments. That's another thing. So yeah, I guess these are things that I've been doing, even just like rearranging things on my shelf or organizing my spice rack. I think these things are like things that I probably wouldn't do, but now that I do it, I like feel good about myself. It's like, oh, it's organized. I like the look of it, and it makes me feel at peace that things in my house is organized.
Awesome. So maybe we can talk about like how do you usually like, distinguish and distinct yourself from the things that you like to do and things that you don't like to do, and when you choose one thing, like okay, say I like to do music or I like to do branding and design, how do you manage to like I want to commit to this, I want to stick it through, because you know that proficiency doesn't come like an instant, right? So how do you distinguish yourself?
Yeah, I think as I mentioned before, I feel like it's a journey for everyone, and like for me, it was yeah, like some people can be, it's like a lifelong journey. Like you just throughout your life, you're discovering that you're passionate about something or like you want to do something. But I think the key is not to box yourself to one thing, and like just stay curious and stay keen, and always be open to try new things and experiment. And I think that's how you know what you like and don't like and what you can be passionate about. Yeah, I mean, I think it was obviously like a conscious decision that I want to be a designer, but maybe part of it is also functional decision. But I can, you know, again, like see myself doing just like design driven things down the line that might not necessarily be just like an art director or like this, like a certain title. So I think just trying to always be open and curious. Like, I think it's so important to be curious and always be hungry to learn and see what's out there.
I like the idea when you tell me like you love something that is beyond just in the surface level, like to come up with something that's much more meaningful to the work that you can do. Maybe what kind of responsibility do you have like a feel of responsibility to contribute to something much more larger and bigger than yourself?
Mhm. I think that's probably like a personal choice for everyone, but I think for me, I mean, I definitely do feel a sense of responsibility that what I do should hopefully have some kind of positive impact or contribution to society. I think with the line of work that I'm doing, even creating design and finding creative solutions so that things that I create are more accessible or more functional. I mean, that could just be like a small contribution that I might not realize are helping people more than I thought it would be. And I think I've had opportunities to work on like social impact projects, and that was like highly rewarding. And again, a lot of times like these projects taught me more things at the end and made me grateful that I'm able to do what I do. So I think it's important that, you know, whatever profession you have, hopefully like everyone have this this feel of like wanting to contribute to the society or like make the world a better place.
Right. So if you want to attach yourself to a cause or maybe something that you want to change the world, let's say through design or creatively, what would it be?
Sorry?
If you want to attach yourself to a cause or maybe something that you want to change creatively in the world for it to be better, what would it be?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Just like a chill one, like I don't know.
Maybe one would, I've always kind of have this passion on shining a light on like the importance of education probably in Indonesia. I think that would be like a cool cause down the line if I could do something related to that. Yeah.
You mean in terms of creative industry or education?
Yeah, that could be great actually. Just like shining a light on like how important the creative field is, because I think growing up it wasn't really like a main option for me. I think it was like super traditional, but I think, you know, things are changing now and more people are in Indonesia, I feel like are definitely more open to the creative industry or like learning more about it. But since, you know, I'm in the field now, that could be cool down the line to even shine more light on that. And just like the importance of educating yourself on these things.
Yeah. I think that's really good because I was studying in Singapore last time, so I know how the design and the art scene there just compared to Jakarta. I mean, in Asia Pacific region, it is still very, very long way to go to even match the the horizon. But that's also something that I have in my heart to really be able to infuse some goodness. Even though I think just graduated in a graphic design or like a visual communication course doesn't mean that you already have like the whole ton knowledge to be able to serve a wider students. But I found it really somehow tricky to hire designers here in Jakarta because most of them will just think about the aesthetic level, and when you get to the rationale behind what they are doing, let's say why do you create this brand this way, they don't have that basis, you know, like they cannot rationalize why they do it in a certain way even just to pick a color. So I think it's really essential, you know, it's to really be able to do something, I don't know, maybe workshops that from the industrial experience to come into the school or universities, for example. And yeah, maybe the next time when you come down to Jakarta, we can do something together in terms of maybe open like a free booth or workshop in terms of branding and design. It's gonna be cool.
Like an awesome idea. Always down for, you know, doing design back home.
Yeah, right. So in terms of, okay, how does living in New York impact your work and creativity? Like just now I'm talking about Singapore. How do you differentiate it?
I think New York is awesome. You're surrounded by so many creatives and really, really talented people. And whether it's designers or artists, musicians, engineers, like a lot of people seem to be very open to possibilities. And everyone's always dreaming big and always on the grind. And I think since you're surrounded by these people who are so driven, it really pushes you to go the extra mile to keep up with the fast pace. And I think on the other hand, it could, like, it's not for everyone and it could be a little overwhelming, but I feel like when that feeling started to hit me, I try to remind myself that rather than seeing things as super competitive, it should also motivate you in whatever you would do. And I find that having people who are much better than me personally, it really challenges me to want to better myself and inspire me to always find ways to learn new things. And I think in New York, the art scene is very much alive all the time. I love the energy that you get from just walking down the streets, or I mean, maybe not right now because we're in quarantine, but when people were like roaming around outside, like going to museums, exhibits, like concerts, shows, like meeting new people. And these are things that kind of keeps me inspired here and keeps me going. So yeah, New York's awesome. I'm like happy to be here.
Yeah. And I think that's I went there like I think 7 or 8 years ago just to go for the branding conference, under consideration brand new conference, that time. And I noticed that it is so energetic. I mean, the way how the art and influence. I think there's no place on earth like New York in terms of the design and arts, especially if we compare it to Europe. I think they're much more relaxed and not so vibrant as if like what you just now mentioned. And I was surprised, but I'm actually caught your words in terms of how to take it positively in terms of what drives you. And I know that the market is very competitive out there, but you said just now that if you kind of can take that as a positive fuel for you to create and even much more go to the extra miles to do it, then I think everybody has to see it from that point, right? Not even when you're just in New York, but basically in Jakarta as well. Because Jakarta, mostly in design scene, design studios locally, basically just competing. But for me, the contentment comes from like, I know what I want to do, and what I do, how I approach things are much more different than maybe other studios. So that's the level of contentment that I got, and that's very important just now that you say it and how to channel it into positivity. So let's talk something about brand and human relationship, because I always like brands that can somehow engage with people in a different level. And okay, so in this time of pandemics, right, I think there are a lot of challenges that somehow brands and brand owners affected, and they somehow need to elevate maybe a sense of fulfillment, sense of contentment for their customers. Do you have maybe some of the tips or key takeaways on how do they elevate that sense of contentment?
I think in general, no matter what brand you are, I think being able to find your own brand's voice and knowing your audience is a good place to start, and being authentic and knowing that people are, they are customers that you're trying to sell your product to, but they're not just that. And realizing that at the end of the day, we're all humans that have needs and just want to have a sense of connection with others. Especially nowadays, I feel like the general audience, they're smart, everyone's smart, and they're very aware of a brand if they're trying to be something that they're not, or trying to be an authority on like a topic that they're not really, authorized to, that feel out of place. I think people can see that. So I think just being authentic and like knowing your audience, I would say that's like a good place to start, to elevate like the sense of contentment for your customers.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. Like how does like being transparent and authentic can somehow address what your brand offers for the consumer? Do you have like a maybe much more specific approach to it? Like, why is it very necessary for brands to be authentic?
Well, I think it's just people can tell, if you're trying to like fake something or trying to be someone that you're not, right? And I think it also sets you apart as a brand if you have like your own voice and you know who you're talking to, because just like people, you can't cater to like everyone in the world. So I think knowing where you're trying to go or where you're coming from, I think that's just like a big part of being able to connect to people.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe if you have a product or a brand that you use right now and give you that sense of loyalty and sense of contentment, like you just don't want to pick any other product or any other brand because you trust that brand in so much. Can you like one and explain why it makes you feel that way?
Like if I can pick one product in my home right now.
Whatever brands it is.
Let's see. I think a lot
Like
of my decisions actually are very influenced by the look of the product, but also like what they stand for. Like I love the product like Glossier, for example. Like, I mean, it's like a skincare product, so it's definitely like a personal choice because you want to put like the best stuff on your face. But also like their brand really radiates like positivity and self-care, and even the way they pick photography and like the colors that they pick, like everything is very intentional and it really radiates like good energy. And I think people can see that right through like they have quality product, but also like the narrative always is consistent. And I think people really resonates with that.
Okay. So maybe if let's say let's just talk about Glossier for a bit. They're eventually, I think their target market in terms of girls, they don't really, I think, specify like this is our target market, but they just like you say, they just being real. They help other people to fill in their contents as well, not just they are the one that produces that content. And regarding to that, I believe New York also pushes things like Me Too hashtags, and I think that is actually they don't really intend it to brand it. Like I don't want to brand Me Too, but it's just like somehow explode and then happening and viral. Everybody's using that all in a sudden because it was like a empowering women and also feminist kind of movement, right? What do you think like those kind of actions in terms of activations that comes from like a cause brand? Do you believe in cause branding and how you just create some movement, and then how do you somehow can tell whether it is not say right or wrong, but something that people need?
Something that people need. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that's like a really big conversation. It's not really like what people need. I think it's just like the freedom to like express like, you know, your thoughts, whether it's through like a whole visual identity or just like a hashtag or everything. But I think it's just the idea of like being able to express your thoughts, right? I think, I don't know if it's like our place to say like it's right or wrong, but I think it is good to be able to support the idea of just creative freedom and creative thinking, no matter what, like where it lives or like how it lives.
Okay, come back to the thing that you said about titles, right? So I believe that design is not a title, but if you can create like one sentence that you fantasize, I want to have this title for my life that explains me. What is that? Maybe some ridiculous stuff, I don't know. Do you ever think of that?
Ever think of a title for myself? I don't know. I don't know if I have like one title that I want to be. I mean, hopefully just like a kind person. I guess I don't like to like box myself to like, oh, I'm like a certain type of designer, because I think it's like important to always evolve and like grow as a person and like in whatever profession you're doing.
That's nice. Or maybe I'll make it easier, like what do you want people to know for? Let's say one word. I don't know.
One word. I don't know if I can pick like one word. I haven't thought about this. Wow, that's hard. One word. I don't know. Amazing.
Oh wow! Yeah, that's exciting. Amazing. So yeah, to bridge that question, to elaborate it, what kind of creative legacy that do you hope to leave one day?
I mean, I just hope that my work could speak to people and could be something that people can take inspiration from or feel good about, whether it's through my design work, music, or any other like creative work that I'll be doing. Even if it could just make a few people feel seen or heard, that would be a great one to leave with them. I think that's why project like the Commando Calibri and the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month was so, like, when I see it out there, it's like I'm just having like tears of joy, because it's something that feels like it's bigger than myself, and just like have positive energy, you know, like, and it gives such a positive message to other people. So I hope that more than just making things look good, I could also leave a positive message and just, you know, good energy to those around me through my work, and those who see it and experience it.
Awesome. And oh, by the way, I forgot to announce, for those that are tuning in right now, if you guys have any questions, ask Josephine regarding to contentment, you can simply drop your questions on the comment bar, or maybe next to it there is like a question with a question mark, and you can somehow ask her. So yeah, I actually have everything done already. I mean, in terms of this this session, but we can always talk about something, right? Leaving a legacy. What do you think? Like, well, for me, it's also one thing that I really love to do. I mean, I don't somehow want to get things out of my randomness just for a temporary time. I usually will think on much more longer term on things. If it's just wasting my time, like for, let's say, I want to do this for 3 months and let's see how. I usually will, if I kickstart something, Josephine, like maybe it seems not really working yet, but I will push it through until like it makes sense and it can go. what about you? Do you have that somehow longer term in mind, or basically you just want to express yourself?
Do you mean when it like comes to a project, or like in
Mm, it
what
can be
context?
anything. Like, do you have your eyes on the far range, or
Um, I mean, I think it's good to have like future goals, to have like a sense of what you want to achieve.
mm,
So you have like a sense of direction. Um, but also being able to be present and just like put your effort on what you're doing right now. I feel like that's also like an important thing. It's like a
mm.
balance, right? I mean, you always want to plan for the future, but also don't forget to like live the present, I would say.
Yeah, that's cool. So how do you unlock your creative achievements? Do you have like every single year you have creative goals, or it just comes naturally?
Um, I feel like when I make like a very concrete plan or something, it never really goes that way. So um, I feel like, have like bigger goals, just like high level goals. But a lot of times, whether it's like in projects or, just in life, um, things don't always go your way, and that's okay. And I think, as I mentioned before, in those situations, it's like when it really forces you to actually like be creative,
Mm,
with your life and with your solutions.
mhm.
So don't be afraid of hardship and like challenges that comes your way. You can like plan things, but most of the time it'll probably like not be that way, and that's okay.
Mm,
Um, and that's part of the journey, honestly. Like, embrace it, and that's how I feel like that's how you find your creative contentment, and through living through the ups and downs.
mm. So speaking of, okay, we creative people always have some idealism in us, no matter what. Like, it's not about being ideal to see it as if it's the perfect thing, but how do you handle killed expectations, or maybe disappointments on the thing that you somehow already very creatively, but then doesn't some people doesn't approve of it, or maybe they don't really accept it the way? How do you handle it?
Mm, I feel like that's just part of your creative process. Sometimes things don't work out. Sometimes people don't like what you do, and that's the whole point of being able to like collaborate. And I think
Mm,
the most important thing about working, it doesn't matter where you work. I think having like no egos, and just
mhm,
being open to other people's feedback, and like um, just being open to like working with other people, because I
mm,
think when you're always stuck with your own thought, that's all you have. It's like your own ideas and what you think is right. But when you open it up to other people, and other people can give you like suggestions on how to improve, that's where growth comes in. It's like when you're able to take a no, or when you're able to move on from like concept that, oh, you've put so much time into, but like maybe
yeah.
it doesn't work out, and that's okay. And I think that's how you learn to be better, and that's how you learn how to work with other people, and that's how you grow as, whatever profession you have, as a designer or as an illustrator. That's just like how you learn and grow, is reflect on it, listen to other people, always be open um, to other people's ideas and feedback and suggestions. Take it, let it sink in, and move on. And most of the times, better things will come. But
Yeah.
you just still see it yet, maybe at that time, and you can be upset. But eventually you have to move on.
Mm, mhm. So just don't dwell on disappointments too long, or maybe, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's easier said than done.
yeah,
You know, it's easy to be disappointed when someone else don't like what you do, but
mm,
that's just part of life. Like, not everyone's gonna like what you do. But I think, you know, learn from it and don't take things too much, especially when it comes to work.
yeah. Well, I believe that in every company there is a need to build a creative culture, right? And for me, I'm not speaking in HigherPurpose. I was working in brand union last time in Jakarta, and well, I have a specified inspiration when it comes like I want to see good works, not just it from the internet. I purchase like a lot of design books, design magazines. It becomes like one of my habits to go list if like I feel stuck. So last time when I was working there, I don't think any single one was reading those things. There is not even one design magazine on the company, but we are actually in branding and design industry. I mean that company, right? So what I did was like I somehow bring all my books to the office and just put there in my desk whenever that I want to go through it. And then my senior last time, he never actually trust to go to books or maybe see references from books because he thinks that somehow it is just too maybe theoretical and also not practical in a way, in a design ways. But I found that's one of the sense of contentment when I want to get out from being stuck. And from a culture where they don't read it, they don't see things from the magazine, I just press through. Like, I mean, I don't care if you say that you don't want to read books. This is my zone, and I really want to do this because it helps me. I mean, if it helps me, it will help the company as well. But after that, somehow, even though like those kind of small acts was not really approved. I mean, in terms of they don't really get it, they don't really understand why I need it. But when I press through, it's so funny because like my senior one, they come back to me and he said that maybe because like I've proven things up in terms of, well, I produce much more quality of work after I read some books or yeah, things that I like to spark my passion. And then somehow he came to me back and he said that, you know what, son, I think it's already good that we should stock up some of branding books. And I was like, yay, finally. And he was like telling me, you know what, the company will somehow support you with that. So you just name every book that you want to buy every single month, and then we will have it shipped here. So I just list everything that I want to buy, you know, and then they get it. So it's a culture that I didn't actually thought that the company will somehow embrace it and adapt with maybe just one person doing it in a company. So what about you? I mean, maybe you have some experiences in terms of having a creative culture important in the offices.
Um, I mean, definitely having like a positive community where you work is important because these are people that you see most. But I also feel like it's important to find creativity outside of work. You know, not everyone have the probably not everyone like where they work or something. I mean, I just happen to love where I work and I love the people and I love everyone in my team, but you know, not everyone's gonna have that. So I think just being able to seek for inspiration not only in your office but also outside the office and yeah, like even walk around, talk to other people outside your industry that could inspire you and spark some inspiration find activities that might not be necessarily related to what you're doing day to day that could spark inspiration. I think it's different for everyone where they find their inspiration or what motivates them. And for me, that's from doing not just design and from not just talking to designers and just really immersing myself in the world. Because at the end of the day, I'm, making work that is not just for me, but for people out there. So I think knowing what's going on out there is also like a good thing.
That's an awesome input. And somebody here, Joanna writes something. Says, it's a she, right? Okay, sorry. I could use your feedback with something. Before the pandemic, I had a vague idea on for side project because of my name and a song. I wanted to make a website called Give Me Hope Joanna, where people can, and then somehow the comment was cut through. So maybe Joanna, if you want to type down again, like, where people can write anything to me and I'll provide some hopeful advice. But I've been going back and forth if this will be perceived right, as I just want to help people to maybe talk to someone in this time. What do you think, Josephine? Like, I think it's conversational based type, I think.
Because of my song, I want to make a website where people can write anything to me and provide some hopeful advice.
So I think Joanna want to be like a hope consultant here.
Hey, you do you, if that's like what you're passionate for, just do it. It's like pandemic. I mean, you have so much time. Find passion projects, find side projects. If you don't want to do that, that's fine too. But if that's like what you want to do, it's you don't always have to find validation from other people. If that's like something that you're really passionate about, you should do it.
I think we can attach, I mean, if this is a feedback that I can give to Joanna, maybe because hope is always related to mental health and everybody's facing a challenge in terms of their mentality right now, and somehow giving hope is always, it is never a bad idea. So I'm a designer, so it's more like modern version of pen pal. Oh, pen pal. You mean like a postcard and then we write to someone? But I think, well, like Josephine said, it's pandemic. Like you can try it out and see whether it's work or not work. If it doesn't work, maybe not just to give up because nobody come there to seek hope, but maybe learn like some things, list down some things that doesn't work and how to make it better and improvise. I think it's still it's a trial and error process in this pandemic time, and I think the opportunity is very wide for you to just do whatever silly things that you have in your mind, and maybe it can be something that goes viral or maybe people buy it a lot. You never know, right? And there's one question, Josephine, what are your passion projects?
My passion projects, well, right now it's mostly music stuff. So it's my project called Nap Room, which is dreamy lo-fi beats. And also my band called Moments. So those are probably my two passion projects that are not design related. And even through those two channels, I'm still doing kind of like design because I'm like designing the branding and everything. So yeah, it's like a win-win situation. Love music and love my band and love my side project, Nap Room.
Cool. Do you instead of just somehow vocalize and do your music, do you design all the visual?
Sorry?
Do you personally design all the visuals content for that Nap Room?
Yeah. So I think that was like the fun part because, I could get like other people to make it, but it's funner to do it yourself because you can. I think having like a tone of voice, right? Like, I mean, the two projects are very different. Like one has a kind of very lo-fi vibe, and the other one is like very energetic, more like funk and neo soul. So I think just determining how to communicate that through like visual identity was like definitely a fun project for me, even though it's not really, like design. But it is design, yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it's also important for me to somehow can channel something out from just day-to-day job into something that you just can express your way like all the way without anybody say yes or no, or and you don't really need to pay me for doing something that I really actually like to do. And that's actually one thing that's elevate the contentment as well. So Josephine, maybe you can give up some summarized tips before I think this is gonna end like 1 minute, because Instagram gonna stop us doing this after 1 hour. So maybe you can give tips to designers out there, to brand owners out there, like how to always maintain your contentment.
Stay curious, stay keen, stay kind. It's okay if you're not feeling very creative right now. You don't have to force yourself to, always be highly creative and like making creative solutions. I think just stay positive, especially at this time. It's fine that you don't feel like you can come up with like a completely new design. It's okay. Just stay curious and stay positive, honestly.
Awesome. Yeah, I think those are two essential parts in serving your contentment. So I really enjoyed the talk. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we have to do this in the future too. Not just this one
Sounds
time.
good.
Yeah. So I think we'll just end after this because it's already countdowning right now on top of the.
All right.
Have a good
See
night.
you.
You know,
See you
it's-
guys.
See you. Thank you for everyone that is watching and stay
Thanks
tuned
for
for
tuning in.
trending
I
songs.
miss you,
Yeah.
babe.
Have a good day.
Miss you,
Bye.
baby, can we get right tonight? Can we get right tonight? Can we get